Learning to propagate plants from either your own home garden or from a neighbor's yard is one of the most productive gardening activities you can do. It's fun, it's rewarding, and it's a great way to add lots of plants to your own landscape or have them to give away to friends and neighbors. So in this video, I'm going to show you the simple things that you need to know to make more plants from cuttings. And thanks to Exmark for making this video possible. Plant propagation can be done all throughout the year, but depending on what you're trying to propagate, well, there's an ideal time for that. For example, deciduous trees and shrubs, they're best taken from cuttings in late spring to early summer, just like this hydrangea bush right here with these gorgeous purple blooms. So I'm going to take some cuttings now, and the reason why this time of the year is best for deciduous trees and shrubs is because they lose their leaves in the fall and then they put them back on in the spring. And by taking cuttings now, you give them the most amount of time for them to root in and get established before they lose their leaves again in the fall. Now, when taking a softwood cutting, the best place to do that is on new growth. So here you can see the new growth starts right here, and of course it goes right up to the top. But at the top, that's too new. So if I were to bend this right here, it would probably only bend and not snap, and that's too fresh, so not good for a cutting. But way back down here by the old wood, if I were to bend it there, it would probably just crease kind of like an elbow, but it wouldn't break either. And so that's too old. What I'm looking for is probably right around the mid spot. And if I were to bend this over right here, it should snap in two, and that's the ideal location. But I don't want to waste this cutting. It's really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and take it from the old wood, and then I'll dissect it back at the potting bench. So let's talk about the tools that you need when you're taking those cuttings. And the first thing is a good sharp pair of pruners. Now these are bypass pruners. They do a great job on softwood cuttings and woody cuttings too, but you might want something with a little more precision, like these micro snips right here, and those are really good on the softer wood. Whatever works best for you, just make sure that they're good and sharp. Now once you make your cutting, if you're out in the field, you're probably not able to put those into that potting medium quickly, so bring some plastic bags with you. A good Ziploc bag is perfect, but you also want to make sure that you bring your tags with you too. If you're doing a lot of different types of cuttings, you're going to forget what's what, and so you bring your tags and bring a good marking pen that's not going to run on you, and make that mark right in the field on those tags so you know what's in the bag, and then seal it up. But before you seal it up, you should also spray the cutting with some water. So once you've got your tag and you put it into the bag, I bring a spray bottle with me. In fact, I can take a little bit of this length off right now, right about there. And then I'm going to spray it with some water. That's going to keep it nice and moist until I get home, because I am not at home right now. So adding lots of water in there will be just what this needs. Now, if you're going to be gone for a long time, one extra step that you could take is to bring a cooler with you too, and that provides an extra layer of protection and insulation until you get home. But for the short period of time that I'm going to be away from the house, this is all I need to do. But now I'm ready to go. Once I get all my cuttings, I'll get back to the potting bench and I'll get these potted up. Okay, we're back from taking cuttings at my neighbor's place. I did that early in the morning, and that is the ideal time to do it because that's when there's the maximum amount of moisture in the plants, and that's really what you want to do. You want to preserve that. But now it's mid-morning, it's getting kind of hot. I've got the cuttings out of the plastic bag, and they are now in a bucket of water. But I got to put them in a planting medium. So what do you use for that? Well, the most important thing is drainage, 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 because it's the space between the soil particles that allows those roots to form. So perlite is a great option for that because there's plenty of air space between these small granules here, and it also absorbs some water. So you get the moisture and you get the drainage. So you could go straight perlite for that, and that's what I've done with this single tray right here. And we'll stick cuttings all through here, and I've already pre-moistened this, and I'll show you how I do it. Or you could use individual cell containers or liners as they're called, and that's what's right here, also all perlite. And you can also use deeper containers. In fact, the deeper the better because of gravity. Water's going to move through the container because of the gravity, but you don't want it any wider than this. In fact, I prefer this to be not this wide. That is because as you put water into a container, water not only goes down with gravity, but it also pulls to the side as well. And so there's more opportunity for moisture to stay in this pot, and that can actually rot the cutting before it has a chance to root out. That won't be the case here because in this one I have 50% perlite and 50% finely ground pine bark. It's often called soil conditioner, and that's a great thing. So this is a nice combination, and I really like using this. So we're going to do some cuttings into all of these, but that's what we're using right now. You can go online and order those pots that are deep and narrow. Those are really nice, and so if you want something smaller than this, that's what I would look for. All right, so let's take a cutting and talk about what's on it and how we make it. Okay, if you recall, I took the wood part of this and I was going to dissect this when I got back here. So that's at the point we're at right now. So I don't need the wood. In fact, I don't want the wood. So I'll go ahead and cut the wood away. So ideally you want 2 leaf nodes down in the potting medium and 2 leaf nodes above. But given the choice, 1 set of leaf nodes above and 2 nodes underneath will give you more opportunity for rooting, and that's what we're after right now. So you work from the top down. And so there's that first set, there's a set of leaf nodes, and there's a set of leaf nodes. I'm going to take it right there. There's not much left after that, so we'll probably go ahead and sacrifice what's underneath it. That's pretty short. And now I'll just go ahead and remove set 1 and set 2. And that's going to be my cutting. But before I do that, you have the option to wound this. And especially if you're using a rooting hormone, the hormone has a better chance of adhering to the tissue. Just a gentle wound right along the leaf node, like that right there. And the rooting hormone is optional, but the rooting hormone will help with rooting, hence the name. And you just don't dip into the original container itself. Go ahead and find a little container. You can even use the cap itself. And you just need to lightly tap the cutting tip into the hormone, like that right there. Flip off the excess. Now, before you just stick it into this medium, ideally it's better to make a hole first, because if you just tried to force this in, you could end up breaking this stem. So if you go ahead with a pencil, put it in there, and then press down all the way around so you know that the medium is in good contact with the stem, that's your best chance for it to root. So let's go with a longer stem and see what we can come up with. Here's a longer example and a better one for getting more cuttings out of just this one stem. Okay, so working from the top, I've got plenty of leaves at the top, so I don't need another set above. So this will be my first set underneath, and that would be my second. So I'll make the cut there. Discard the leaves. And since there aren't any roots here yet, that's a lot of foliage that needs to be supported, and we don't need that much. So I can do away with at least, you know what, I can probably do away with 2 more leaves. That's plenty. Now, like I said, the rooting hormone is optional. There's a nice clean cut there, and I exposed those nodes when I pulled the leaves off. So if I get hormone on that, I know I'm good. Make my hole. Pop it in, firm it in around, cutting number 2. So that's the process. You just work your way through that. Here's another good example. We'll do 1 more of these. Working from the top. There's 1 set of nodes, 2 set of nodes, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets. That top set of nodes is plenty above. I'll make the cut just below that node set. This is viable for another cutting. So I'll just dip it, make my hole with my pencil, stick it in and firm it in, and there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this one off. Okay, those are all tucked in. I made my label, and that is in as well. And I have 2 more trays to do, obviously, but before I do, I want to go ahead and get the humidity dome on here because that is so important to trap that humidity around the plants now that they are here. So let's go ahead and get that done, and then I'll come back and finish these up. Now, as far as trapping that humidity, you can do that a number of different ways. The main thing, or the easiest thing, is with plastic. Thin plastic is fine. You can even use that plastic bag that comes around your dry cleaning. That's actually perfect. Or you can get a drop cloth, a very thin drop cloth. This one is 9 feet by 12 feet. It costs less than $2, and you can get a lot of covers out of this. So I just cut this down to save time. And then as far as the hoops, you want to build something that goes over this and try to make it so that you don't have the leaves in contact with the plastic. And so what I've done with that is just the wire coat hanger. So, you know, that dry cleaner trip, you're using everything from that. So to save time, I already made one. Cut out the hook part. And then the key here to anchor this in is to get a bottom tray to hold this in place. So there are actually 2 trays here, the one that has the perlite in it and the one that's going to hold this hoop in place. And then you just kind of wedge that in. And that's actually pretty firm. So we'll do that again right here. And the way that you do that, you get some wire cutters. And essentially you're just cutting out the hook part. There's that. And then you just manipulate it. There's a little bit of an arch to it. Pull these parts down. And you want to match it up. That may be a little too long. I think it is. I'll just... This one there. Shape them up a bit. Push them down. It's good to actually have this bow out a little bit because that's going to keep the plastic away from the foliage. I actually like that. You're not going to get much top growth, so this doesn't have to be that tall. Really, wider is better than tall here. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. This is not an exact science, you're just trying to get it close. So here's that piece of plastic, and this is getting draped over the top. And then tucked in. And if you have enough humidity in here, you're going to see it build up on the inside cover. This does not have to be airtight. In fact, it's actually nice if there's a little bit of air circulation. And you just play with this until you get it right. The main thing is if you can just get it kind of tucked in on the side, that'll help keep the plastic off the foliage. It's not critical, but it's, you know, if you can do it, all the better. Okay, so that's what you're after. Now, where do you put this? Bright light, but not direct sun, okay? Direct sun will cook these little guys. There's no roots on here. They're very sensitive at this point. They're relying on the trapped humidity for all their moisture needs combined with what's in the perlite. But that excess heat, if it's in direct sunlight, too much. The bright light will help create photosynthesis at just the right amount. And then in approximately 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have roots start to develop. And then once you see roots coming out the bottom or you get a little resistance as you're tugging on it, then that's the time that you can separate these and transplant them into their own separate pots. Okay, 1 down, 2 to go. And if you'd like more access to videos from me and other experts in the lawn and garden, rural lifestyle, and outdoor cooking and living space, be sure to click on the link below. And thanks for watching.